Again, everybody, welcome and welcome, Carole.
Thank you very much.
Just before we start, just one announcement from me. I just want to remind you that we have our own bake-off next Tuesday. Our own master chef, Leslie Daniels, who is going to be cooking live on stage her own recipe, honey cake. We have sent out with the newsletter the recipe and utensils for all those who want to do it actually whilst Leslie's doing it. If any of you still want copies of the recipe and utensils you will need ready, just drop us an email on bushysage@gmail.com. So next week we can have honey cake and a cup of tea all at the same time, and we look forward to that with Leslie taking us through that. I'm going to hand over to Joy now, who's going to introduce her sister Carole. So Joy, over to you.
Hello everybody. As you can probably see, because Carole and I look quite alike, she's my younger sister and I'm very, very proud of her. Carole studied at Stoke College of Art. She did ceramics and has spent the last 50 years of her productive life working in ceramics and selling and enjoying everything. She has a studio at home and she had a kiln at home and she did everything from there. She was showing in all over the place actually. I'm afraid I can't quite remember, I'm a bit nervous. But latterly, in the last 3 or 4 years, she decided that the work she was doing in ceramics had finished. She felt she wanted to try a new path and she started painting, drawing and painting. And that's what she has been doing for the last 3 or 4 years. And I might be a little bit prejudiced, but it's amazing. I love what she's doing. And now I'm going to put you through to Carole, who's going to show you, give you a guided tour around her works and tell you about them. Over to you, Carole.
Okay, thanks, Joy. Right, I've got to... Not yet. I've got to... you know, it's a bit of a bizarre occurrence, this, because I'm actually on holiday. and I think Zoom's a bit strange anyway. And the times we're living in are very, very strange. And I'm fed up with it, and I'm sure everybody is fed up with it all. But we just have to, you know, get through it. So about the questions at the end, I'm fine if you want to ask me questions, but I will say that the usual questions I get asked are, how long did it take to make and what size is it? So I'm going to, kind of answer those as I go along. So now I have to share screen. Okay. Yeah, just reminding me. I'll just tell you a little bit about what I've done in my life. I did a BA in ceramics at Stoke when I was, you know, 18 or so. And then about 20 years ago, I did an MA at the Royal College, which was fantastic for me. And I never regretted it. But I have worked my entire life, and 50 years of that has been making ceramic. And like Joyce said, I just wanted a change really, and I wanted to paint on a flat surface rather than painting on a sculptural surface. So here we go with our... I've been more worried about the technology than about talking and getting it all right. So now we're on share screen, and do I do that one? No, this one. Right. Oh, okay. Now I'm on full screen, which is that one. One on the right. Nothing. I shall move over for my technical advisor here. We're finding it hard to share screen.
It's not sharing it properly. I take it you can see that at the moment,
Yes, we can see all the posters.
but it's not
Yeah.
it's not going big like we want it to.
Well, it's usually that one, isn't it? There, the green.
There we
Yeah.
go. Lovely.
Oh. Okay.
I'm not on full screen at the moment.
Oh, well, I do have some people on my right.
We can see you, and we can see at the moment a folder of different pictures.
Oh, okay. So it hasn't worked.
But if you click on each one, it should load up and show it on a fuller screen.
Yeah, we tried this the other day and it worked fine.
When we were with Ronnie,
You have to click on it and then click on share screen in the bottom right hand corner.
It's already sharing the screen, but if you double click on each picture, I think part of the problem is that for some reason you've selected everything. If you click somewhere else on the screen, hopefully it should take you. There you go. Okay, so now the other problem might be that you're showing the folder and not the picture. So if you
can you see it now?
Let's just try again. Let's just try sharing it again, please.
Yeah. Gotcha.
well, when we worked it out, we had to have the folder open, and then we just had to press the space bar to go from one to another.
Then it could be that you need to share the whole computer screen rather than just particular items.
Ah,
Oh, there you go. Now we can see it.
now it's you.
And if you...
That's it.
There
Okay.
you go.
Yes?
Are we okay now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Whew. That's what I've been the most anxious about. Oh, yeah. And I have to disappear the arrows. And I can't find... Oh, there's a cursor. Okay. So this is 1967. And I was... and I went to Stoke to do a degree in ceramics. And, oh, I absolutely loved it. And I was in my element. And... but I didn't agree with... I've always been a bit of a rebel. And I didn't agree with, in a way, what they were teaching. They were very into Eastern philosophies, and I was very into pop art and, you know, visual pop art as well as popular music. Because we'd grown up in Southport, which is very close to the Beatles, as everybody knows. And I was caught up with all that wonderful 60s stuff. So I wasn't going to make anything Bernard Leach-like, but I was going to make pop objects. So this is the first of my pop object, which was a matchbox. And that, on the left, you can see that coin is an old shilling. So I've put that there so you can actually see how big this piece is. And I continued making pop items. It was strange at the time because even though there was no internet and it was difficult to know what other people were doing, what was actually happening at the time was pop art was emerging, and different people were doing it in different places. So it was New York, London, and me in Stoke as well at the same time. This was my Gladstone bag. Well, one of the things that's always fascinated me about ceramics is what you can actually do with the material and what you can make it look like. So I put, it's got a sort of a dark blue glaze on, and then I put silver luster on top of the glaze for the zip and for the, I don't know what they're called, those little things, to make it look realistic. It actually was so realistic that it was on the floor in our flat, and one day Jeff's mum came in and tried to pick it up by the handle and broke it, which was a bit of a shame. But anyway, it showed me that it actually did look like a real handbag, which I was quite pleased about. This was made at the same time. I think what I do have to tell you that it's a bit odd looking at my work from the past, because in between each photo there's probably 20, 30 or 40 pieces behind each one. And they're all made at very different times in my life, at different periods of my life. So they are all going to look kind of different, really. But I hope they have the same, well, people call it your signature, and I do hope they have the same signature, which is mine. These were boxes that I illustrated using photolitho. So again, I was very interested in the kind of surfaces and the things that you could do with ceramics. And so I actually photolithoed these onto and printed them onto the glaze. And at the time, you know, people just weren't using ceramics in this way. And I did feel a bit out on a limb. And I probably was a bit out on a limb too. This was done later, but it's kind of the same theme. And I called it Bum, which is fairly obvious. And it's actually my bum in a pair of Levi's. But it's in the shape of a pot or a vase. It is life size, so it is quite big, that one. So I've got to remember to take the cursor off so that you can...
Yeah, I'm on stage at the moment.
Pardon?
What time was that? 2:30? Okay, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, cheers.
Okay. Right. Now this was quite a bit later, in my 30s, and I began to be interested in making composites. So what I mean by that is putting different elements together. So each element would have been made separately and then built up. There's a lot of different things happening in this one. For instance, there's a picture on the table which was done in photolitho. I'm just trying to see what it is because I've forgotten what it is. And then the overall form, I just painted with dabs. I thought, well, I've got to really go for it. And I needed something quite strong to join the top and the bottom of the images. And the three things you see are three ducks, which represented Jeff, Heidi, and me, and were flying across the landscape. That one's called French Kier. Okay. Now this one is big. I'm not quite sure how big, but I would say it's about 3.5 feet. And it's built from separate sections. And it was at the time when our daughter was, you know, a little girl. And we had all the joy of going to the park and feeding the ducks and things like that, you know, I really enjoyed about her at that age. Again, you know, I'm so interested in the surface and in the surface decoration. So I really enjoyed making that one. And it represents such a beautiful time for me. Another composite, a bit more difficult to explain really. It's actually a game, and you put a marble in the top and it goes round and round and round and then comes out at the drawer at the bottom. Again, it's kind of pushing the boundaries, which I always like to do. It was a very difficult piece to make because the inside, the actual torso, is separate from the outside, the flowers. And so I had an awful lot of technical problems with it. Excuse me. Don't know why I've got a cough. That's better. I've got an awful lot to cover. Another composite, and this one is about what it's called Defying the Ring Pass Knot, which is not very well up on the actual what it totally means, but it's about the different parts of people. So it's the different parts of me, and the part of me on the right is the Venus that comes out of the shell in Botticelli's painting, and part of me is the fighter on the left, because nearly all my life now I've done martial arts and I've done karate, and I absolutely love it. And sorry, I forgot to take the cursor off. So it just was representing different sides of my nature. That one is about 2 feet tall. Bit of a nightmare for firing, but I thought it was quite a successful piece. I'm going to show you a piece that I made. By this time, we'd gone on our adventure to California, and we actually stayed for 4 years in California, and I worked with a famous California artist called Bob Arneson, who was absolutely wonderful. And when I met him, we got on really well, and I ended up doing a teaching. I was an assistant teacher for him, and I got privilege of using a studio and kilns, and I'd never really worked very big. And I put this photo in to show you the scale of the piece that I'm about to show you. That's Jeff on the left, when he had lots of black curly hair. And I'm peering into the kiln to see if it's all okay. The piece isn't fired yet, so it's always a very difficult time when something goes into the kiln. Here is that piece finished. And it's interesting for me to go back and look at all these in detail, because there's so much painting on them, and how I love pattern and colour. And that's why I didn't take to Bernard Leach and brown Temacou glazes very much, because I just had to be more vibrant and colourful. The piece is actually split down the middle. It's in 2 parts. It is about 5 feet tall. And it's always something that makes me laugh, because the right leg of Jeff's is on the left, well, it's on the right-hand side of the piece. And when you split it, the leg stays there, but the body sort of comes apart. So it was just, I do these little things to kind of amuse myself. This one, I think, I've always liked carving as well. And a lot of the difficulties in ceramics is to bring together different aspects. So the 3-dimensional aspect, the sculptural aspect, the surface, and also I found I just love carving, so I used to like to carve them as well. One of the reasons that I did ceramics in the first place was one of my lecturers at Southport College of Art, where I went, was called Monty Serotto, and he absolutely inspired me, because he had such incredible skill. He could make wonderful things, and I just really had to learn to be skillful. So I've spent a lot of my life learning my craft skills, and honing them and developing them. And it's, if you're an artist, you've always sort of got something to do. There's always, I've never been bored. It saved me from a lot of boredom in my life, because I've always been yearning to create and to be better at what I do, which sometimes is a bit of a pain. But it's that striving that has helped me carry on. And, you know, I get a lot of people who say, well, how do you find time to do it all? Or, you know, think questions like that. And I think a lot of people have got skills and have got talent, but you've got to have a very, very strong will to do it. And having a strong will help you go through all the ups and downs that come from being a creative person. Because, you know, if you're largely, you know, I've had times in my life where I've been very, very successful and I've sold lots of stuff. And I've also had long periods in my life where I haven't been successful and I haven't sold a lot of stuff. So having that will and determination to carry on kind of helps you glide past those times where no one seems to appreciate what you're doing. And, you know, it's the same for all artists. It's not just me. You know, all artists go through ups and downs and periods of success and failure. And I think the lesson is that you just have to get yourself past it and go through it. I'm a bit worried about time now, so, oh, yes. We're back in England. And the last one was of my daughter. It was called Slidey Heidi. My daughter's called Heidi. And this one, I made a full size, so you can see, you can tell how big it is, model of her. The only way she'd model was if she could watch Neighbours, so you can kind of date the time that it was. And she'd lie there for ages, as long as she was watching Neighbours or the telly. So here she is watching Neighbours, and I'm just finishing it off. I really love the state of the clay, which is called leather hard. When it's like that, the clay is still damp, but it's rigid, and you can do a lot to it. You can do a lot of carving to it. And she was wonderful to do, and I've got some drawings of her at the same time as well. I call this one Oy Vey, because it's like, oh, you know, Oy Vey. And it's slightly abstracted. I went through a period of doing quite abstract figures. And what I wanted with the surface was to have the surface be the same look as leather hard clay had. So here I'm not using any colour, and I'm using some very dark oxides on the surfaces. And wanting it to look like it was still leather hard. It makes me laugh, this piece, because it's me and my neighbour, one of our neighbours, gossiping, and the dog looking towards heaven because he's heard it all before, you know. And this particular neighbour was a very close friend of ours. And I call this one the Entry of Maureen into the family. It's a wall piece. It's about 2 feet tall. And you have to have a sturdy wall to put it on. And I get very nervous about dusting it. There's some pieces that are family pieces that I will pass down. But mostly I'm not, you know, I'm willing to let work go. I don't have to keep things. But I kept this one, and I'll get Heidi to keep it. It belongs to the family. This one is probably something that you know more. Where are we? Jacob's dream, when he dreamt about the ladder, and I just love the imagery of that. And so I put in the lizard in the sand, and then he's sort of, you can only see his head, but he's lying there. And there's angels ascending and descending the ladder. The thing I like about this piece is the composition of it, which I think works really well. And it's quite a sentimental piece. Having said that, I have no idea what happened to it, and I don't know where it is. But the trouble with ceramics and with large pieces is, you know, where do you actually keep them? And it's always a very difficult thing to keep pieces. I don't know. Oh yes, I sold this one. That's right. This is one of the ones I sold. And I really like this one. It's to do with, that's me running through the landscape, and I don't really know what to do, where to go. And I think we'd been home from America, and I didn't know whether I wanted to go back there or what I wanted to do. But when we came back, I got a really good job at a college, and I was a lecturer at Havering College for 25 years, which is a long time. I enjoyed lecturing because it's communicating, and because I love the interaction with the students. And to lose that, you know, when I retired was really, there was a deep sadness in that. But a few years ago, I joined up with U3A, University of the Third Age, and I have a drawing group, excuse me. So I'm able to teach again to adults, people our age, which is really good fun. This is a long time later. I've been to the Royal College and I started doing work. I don't know if you're familiar with them, Staffordshire flatbacks, which I studied at the college. And I made a series of sort of Staffordshire pieces in the Staffordshire style. And this is me being analysed by Freud. He's just gently cocking an ear to hear me. I've actually read Freud, which is amazing. Partly, you know, being married to a psychotherapist is, well, it's interesting, and following his journey as well, from being a kosher butcher to being a psychotherapist. It's taken many different routes, you know, but I'm here telling Freud my all. I showed this at a gallery, Marsden Wu in London, along with another piece which I haven't included, and both of them got sold on the same day to an American collector, which I was very happy about. And even though I miss it a little, it was nice to have sold it. Narcissus and Echo. I'll just have a look at my notes and see what I haven't been saying. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I've put him in underpants because he's an anti-hero. He's not supposed to be a superhero, but he's supposed to be very human. So that's why he's in underpants. And Echo at the front, she's quite, if you see down below, she's quite solid. And as she goes round the back, she gets paler and paler and finally disappears. And I think it was a really good way to show narcissistic people and kind of the people around them. I haven't known many narcissistic people in my life, but I suppose we're all narcissistic to some extent. This is Brian Sewell on the left, who was the arts editor, something with the Evening Standard, and Nicholas Sirota. And they're having a punch up outside the outside Tate Modern. The original of this was, it was called, I've called it Pugilists as well. It was called Pugilists. And, but it didn't have Sewell and Sirota, because they come from completely opposite ends of the artistic spectrum. And so I thought it'd be funny if they met and had a fight. And I sold this at the same exhibition, which I was very happy to do. And I think it was one of my better pieces, so I was happy with that. Oh, another slightly, what can I call it? This is Venus with Penis. And it took part in a show in Brighton Museum. I've actually got this written down so I don't forget it. Yeah, it's an androgynous figure. And it was in Brighton Museum in an exhibition called Subversive Craft. And it is pretty subversive. And they probably wouldn't show it nowadays, but this was about 15 years ago. And it was an interesting exhibition because, you know, it just challenged ways people think about craft, which is something I've always wanted to do anyway. And so I made this androgynous figure, which was kind of both, little knowing that it would kind of all blow up into how it is today. And I had absolutely no idea. But I did it to kind of provoke thought. This one is Tracy Emin. I don't know if you know about Tracy Emin. She's one of the, the Brit artists. I don't find her work very satisfying, but I do really admire her guts. And if you go to the Royal Academy exhibition every year, there's always some of her prints, like with sort of 4 lines that there's about 4,000 dots on, showing how many she sold. And it does puzzle me at times. I think the thing is about the work is that it doesn't get me. It doesn't go, oh yeah, oh, I really resonate with that. I just find it a bit cold. And so I've done a piece about her because I admire her, but I'm not really that keen on her work. I think she's got a lot of guts. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you about that piece because I'll go back to it because I had a few years ago, I got a phone call from a lady saying, can we come to your studio and have a look round? And I said, oh yeah, sure, And they came round and they told me that they owned a castle in Cheshire somewhere. And they wanted to buy some work. So they came round and we had a lovely discussion and they absolutely loved my work. And they bought this piece and quite a lot of other pieces and gave me a check at the end. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't know who they are. Am I going to take a check? They're taking all my work away. But it turned out that they were really fine. And they did have a castle in Cheshire and the check didn't bounce. And we struck up a really good friendship and they were lovely, lovely people. And more than that, in a way, they had the most fantastic collection of art that I've ever seen anywhere, better than, in a lot of galleries. I want to make this full screen now and I don't know how to. And I think Jeff's gone away somewhere. And I'm a bit worried about touching anything. This one, I'll wait till he comes back before I try and do anything, but I'm sorry it's not on full screen. This is Obadiah, Master of Bursley. Again, it's referring to the Staffordshire theme that I've been working on. And here's Obadiah. He was a craftsman who made flatbacks, absolutely fantastic. Flatbacks were considered to be, for the riffraff, whereas the toffs had, all the, posh factories, none of which come to mind at the moment. But the Staffordshire pieces were for everyday people. They were affordable. And I just loved that about them. And they commemorated different things that went on, like if there was, the change of queens and events that happened. So they were kind of commemorative. And I like the fact that they commemorated different things. Now, this one was actually bought by the rector of the Royal College because he liked it so much, which was really an absolute thrill for me. It is very big and it's in 4 pieces. So you've got the base and the figure, and then behind what's called bocage, and the funny little dog who's scratching his back on the edge. When dogs lie on their back and they go like that and have a good scratch. So that's that one. Oh, I wish I could get it to full screen. I'm so worried if I try and do full screen that it's just going to mess it up, so I won't. In the Sight of God, the original was Victoria and Albert. So there's an original flat back like this. And I made it, I don't know whether you've heard of Gilbert and George, who are contemporary artists. They're not actually a gay couple. Well, I don't think they're a gay couple, but they work together. They're considered as one artist, and their work is really interesting. So I made a piece about them instead of as Victoria and Albert. So they are dressed as Victoria and Albert were on their wedding day. Again, I'm playing about, there's a lot of modelling and carving on it, and hopefully humour. Oh yes, I sold that to somebody. When I come to the next piece, I'll explain what happened.
I've got that.
This is bud and barkage rather than bocage. In the Staffordshire pieces, it's known as, you know, the fancy trees at the back are known as bocage, but I call this barkage. And I made this in a bedroom in our house. And I think it's one of my most successful pieces. And it was shown in a magazine, and one of the people that worked at Brighton Museum phoned me up and said, "Oh, we want to buy your piece." And I said, "Oh, oh yes, please, okay." And so this piece is shown at Brighton Museum, and this is how they showed it. But afterwards, they had to put it in a glass case because the kids had come along and pat the dog, and they were they were taking the surface off, so they had to put it in a glass case. So if you go, well, last time I went to the museum, it was on the right as you go in, but it's unfortunately behind glass, so you can't give him a pet. Our dog was black, but I thought I'd use a bit of artistic license and give him some spots. And by the side of him is a Grayson Perry pot, and behind is a Richard Slee, what do you call it, Joby jug. Oh, that's right. Can you see? Well, I'm not sure if you can see, because down the side I can't see the Pope very well. Again, one of my very favourite and best pieces, and it was about Francis Bacon, who I absolutely love, Francis Bacon and his work. And so I made these pieces about him, and you know, studied him and looked at a lot of his work. So on the left, the piece is called Love and Suffering, and on the left we've got George Dyer. I have to hurry up a bit. In the right is Bacon himself, taken from one of his portraits. Sorry, in the middle, and on the right is the Screaming Pope. So the whole piece is called Love and Suffering. And I think the marriage of what I can do and what he did was a good marriage. It seems to have gone full screen again, which I'm pleased to see. Oh, now we're at paintings. We've actually finally come to painting. I was looking at, Jeff and I, we've always collected old ephemera, and we've actually got a loft full of old ephemera, and we've been going every year to Ali Pali to sell it. Obviously this year haven't been able to go, and it's been, well, eventually I suppose we're going to have to sell a lot online, because who knows when we're going to be back to normality. But this was from an old Butlins brochure. So I kind of took it from there, but I've played about with it, and it's called In the Dining Hall. I never went to Butlins, and I don't know how many people, Jewish people, ever did, but we never went. And I also had a kind of little hankering after going to Butlins and to find out what it was actually like. So this is in the dining hall, and I did love doing the tablecloth, and I hope you can see you know, a kind of continuation of the things that I'm interested in. A grand day out. So a lot of the people, they're in old kind of, not in modern clothing, but sort of really kind of a bit strange 1950s, 60s clothes. I've so enjoyed painting. It's been a challenge because, you know, it's a new art form really, but it's been as interesting to me as ceramics has. And when I actually think about it, I've always loved painting, and I've always gone to painting exhibitions, you know, since in the 1960s. I went to, I always thought it was Tate Modern, but it's actually not the Royal Academy. Oh God, now I've forgotten what it is. I saw in an exhibition Van Gogh's chair. It was just the simple chair, and it absolutely spoke to me, that painting. And it was a sort of out of body experience, if you like, because I just realized that I had to be an artist, and that was what I was going to do. And that was the beginning of my path, if you like, as an artist. And I still love Van Gogh. And I love a lot of other painters. And I think it's not a good thing to compare yourself with other painters, because there's always this terrible shortfall, you know. But it's like they're my friends and they sit on my shoulders when I'm working. And I don't try to be like them. And I do come from myself with things. I don't kind of, I find the best work I do is when I'm really able to come from who I am and not to try and copy or emulate or anything anybody else. This is a bit like me being about Freud Peak, where I'm being analysed by Freud. It wasn't intended to be Jeff, and I don't think it does look actually like Jeff, but it is. It does look. It wasn't intended that she would be being analysed, but it just kind of worked out that way. But I call it the Russian because of the funny figure in the background with the cigarette, and we thought he looked very Russian, so I called it the Russian. Oh, this is a fairly recent one. I think I did it about a couple of months ago. I particularly like that girl on the right because she's got such a wistful look on her face. And it's called Patisserie, and they're standing outside a cake shop, which actually we saw in Germany, and they had the cakes all laid up like that, and they were just so wonderful. I didn't eat any cake on that holiday, but I just loved how decorative they were. It's very hard to know what these paintings mean. And I think I generally, when I look back on things, I have much more of an idea of what things mean than I do at the time. I call this putting on the screw. It's completely imaginary. I like doing narrative pieces where the viewer has to kind of make up the narrative. So, you know, it's up to the viewer to kind of, oh, what is going on there? Why is he pointing to him? And why has he had to get up and leave his breakfast? And has he had HP sorts and stuff like that, that starts you thinking about just little stories, I suppose. Now this one, the next few are about my family. I've given myself enough time to talk about them. This is Brumus on the bottom right, me, Joy, on Ainsdale Beach. Yes. And I had a bit of therapy last year. There was nothing really wrong, but I just wanted to find out a bit more about myself and where I came from, which is always a good thing to do in therapy. And after that, I did some paintings about our family, and this was the one with Joy and I on the beach. And it really, really amuses me because Joy's a little bit older than me, 2.5 years older than me. And I love the way she's actually holding my hand. And it reminded me of when I was a kid. I never knew what was going on, if you know what I mean, in the world of grown-ups. I was such a dreamer, and I had no idea. The grown-up world was so alien to me. I couldn't understand it at all. And Joy was kind of my guide through the trials and tribulations of being a small child. And when I look closely at the photograph that I took the painting from, I was just blown away by how beautiful she was as a young girl, and how it was just a lovely connection. And it's sort of therapeutic in itself, being able to paint this. And Brumus wasn't actually on the beach. And I'm not sure whether this probably was after we moved. I don't know what happened to Brumus. But I think it instilled in both of us a huge love for dogs, and our family have always loved dogs. So some people are cat people, but we're most definitely dog people. So I do love that painting. Now here's my dad. And I think I get most of my creativity from my dad. And this photo really, really inspired me and made me laugh, because what he's got on, the way he's dressed, is so utterly 70s. Because that shirt, it's sort of brown bordering on purple. And then the tie, and I swear the tie is as it is there. And then the cardigan, and the whole look of it all together, I thought was so creative. And it, unfortunately, you never get to talk to your parents really when you want to. That is later on in life, and find out more about them. And I never used to know he even read books until I looked at that and I saw he always reading a book, and then I wondered what the book was, and I've no idea what the book was. I just don't know what he was reading. And when I look at his hands, they're very like my hands. Joy's got our mum's hands, which are slender. But I've got my dad's hands, which is good because they've been very strong, and you need strong hands to make ceramics. So there's my dad, about circa 1976. Mm. And here's my sister, my older sister, Jackie. I know, it's a painting of her when she was really young. I don't even know I think she was about in her late 20s, 30s. And, well, I still miss her now, and I think about her a lot. And it was quite sad for me to paint this. And the funny thing is, the things that I remember about her are the things I think that it's the idiosyncrasies about her, the way her hair was, and the things she said, and how she moved her hands. And so it isn't a kind of typical from a photo of her, because it's so early. But I think I got her. There's a kind of joy that she's, enjoying, and she's quite a snazzy dresser. And she was always quite a snazzy dresser and had these outfits and hats and everything. Not like me at all. But both my sisters have been snazzy dressers. Oh, this is Uncle Murray. my mum's youngest brother. I don't know whether this is true, that he ran away to join the circus. Or whether it's just a family myth, but he was definitely a nonconformist, and he was absolutely wonderful, and I loved him dearly. He lived in Canada, so I didn't see him very often. But I remember being a teenager, and I was living with one of my aunts at the time, and he was really kind to me and helped me, and, you know, was lovely to me. He's in the British Army in Palestine, I think, here. He looks a bit like a wide boy, you know, with his cigarette, and but I thought it was a very characteristic pose for him, so that's why I liked it. And he'd had blue eyes, really bright blue eyes. Some of my mum didn't have blue eyes. She had hazel eyes, like me. I did a painting of my mum, but I haven't ever got it right, so I've never showed it. I wanted obviously to paint her, but she died so many years ago. I was 14, and I think I just found it difficult to connect to her through a painting, but I will try again, because I'd really like to do a painting about her. I think my mum dying just devastated our family, and you know, we were split up, and I was sent to London, and Joy stayed with my dad, and it was just a horrible time. So one day I will do another painting of my mum that I actually like. But this is my daughter, who is now 46, and this is her as a little girl. And, well, obviously I think she was gorgeous. And there is something, you know, when your kids are like in that fantastic 3-4 age, where they're not quite toddlers, but they're not, you know, that extra bit, and they're just so innocent and so wonderful. And we're very lucky because she's a very family oriented person and looks after us. We do joke about her looking after us when we're you know, when we're senile and things. She don't think that's very funny, but you know, I say I'll come and camp in a front garden and she can look after me, and I'll buy a trailer or something and live in the front garden. But she said, "Oh yes, okay, Mum, okay." But she's been you know, she turned out from not being a great success at school to being an absolutely fantastic person, and she's a psychotherapist like Jeff. She doesn't take after me, she takes after him, and she's got such integrity and such a wonderful heart, you know, and I couldn't be more proud of her. Byron, our youngest grandson, I don't know where to start. When I think about how I was at 11 and how he is, I mean, there's just no comparison. His knowledge and his creativity, he's just fantastic. And he's interested in electronics and make things, and, you know, he just amazes me. And he's really beautiful as well. And I haven't doctored this. It was from a photo, but I just caught him. It was a good side. And so I think he looks really beautiful. And he's very loving and wonderful as well, obviously. And here's the other one, Caden, teenager's got his phone in his hand. Well, he'll be 20 in January. And when he was little, I took him, he was being picked on, and I thought, right, I'm not having this, I'll take you to karate. So I took him to karate, and at the time I was 62, and Xian, the teacher, I took him every week, and he said, well, when are you going to start? And I thought, oh yeah. And so I started, and so all from him being 8 to now, we've trained together at karate, and it's been fantastic because, you know, I never knew what I would have in common with a grandson. It's okay, you know, and you know they love you and everything, but what do you talk about? But we've always had that connection. So it's been amazing for me. And he's at uni now and he's doing well, and he's very kind-hearted as well, and very proud of him. Right, so this is Jeff. This is my final one, and I don't know what to say. He's been my friend all my life. You couldn't have had a better, truer, kinder, more talented, more imaginative. I don't know what to say. He's just been my pal, and he's been wonderful. He's not in here. I don't know if he's lurking outside, but I'd say those things to him anyway. I do tell him all the time. And so we're kind of facing our cricking along as old people together. And we had our anniversary. We've been married 50 years, but we had a lockdown anniversary, which wasn't really what we planned, but we went and had a picnic in a really beautiful park instead of a rave, but there you go. And there he is. Well, I've finished now, and I've managed to time it exactly to an hour, which I'm very proud of, because it's quite difficult to kind of... So yeah, I'm really happy to answer questions.
Okay, can you take us off sharing then, please, Carole?
Yes. What do I do? Stop share.
Yeah. Okay. Yep,
right, I'll close that.
Yeah, sounds like her.
And I'll
okay.
close this, presumably.
No, go on. It's all right. We'll leave it like that for now, Carole.
Oh,
fine.
okay.
Thank you so much. God, Joy, what a talented sister you've got there.
He got the talent, I got the looks.
Yeah, no, you.
No. Honestly, I'm joking.
Now, sisters.
Joy's hair.
You both, you sound the same. You look the same. I can't get over it, really. I'm going to ask a quick question because I'm so interested. I did like the one of you and Joy on the beach there.
Yeah.
You haven't changed a bit. Can I just ask, you know, some of that work is just unbelievably creative and wonderful. You know, things like Heidi, Slidey Heidi, Freud, Tracy, Emin, all of them, so many more. How long do those take to make?
Well, the answer is a long time. And, you know, it depends. Some of the really big ones would take about 6 months.
Oh,
and
God.
The problem, you know, the problem with any craft is it's very time consuming. And what I've found is that it does force you to put a high price on them. So a lot of the pieces would sell for, you know, like for instance, the Love and Suffering was 5,000, and some of them were 1,500 or a couple of thousand. And it's because of just the enormous amount of time that it takes. But that's one of the bonuses of painting, because I can actually finish a painting in a few weeks. So they don't, you know, I don't have to charge those huge prices for them. Some of the smaller pieces, you know, they might be of the ceramics could be, you know, a few £100. But on the whole, it's just the amount of time they take that makes them so expensive.
Okay, thank you. If anybody else, Marlene?
Yes, when you're actually moulding a figure and you think you've got it, and then you think, well, no, I'll do another little bit here. When do you know when to stop?
Oh, well, that's such a good question. And what I found is I've got a little formula. And if I'm doing something like that, and then I suddenly find that, oh, that didn't work, so I can just do a little, carve a little more out or build a little more up. So it's on the second one of those that I stop. I think, right, no more. So I do it till then, and then I'll stop, because I'll know that that's obviously where I should have stopped. So it's quite a good, you know, a good way of knowing when to stop.
I can see Joy smiling all the time. She's obviously got a lot of pride in you and the work you do, and quite right too. Anybody else got any more questions? If you have, you need to unmute yourself, because I don't think Rabbi Nick's around to unmute you. So if you want to, please unmute yourself and ask Carole anything. Anybody? Can't see anybody waving at me.
No, I just would like to say another couple of things.
Yeah, please do.
To do with the making of the pieces, I have got a website which is carolewindham.com, so it's my name, which I think you can find out how to spell, .com. And on there's some videos that Jeff's made with me, and it shows me going through the processes of making the pieces. So it gives you some idea about, you know, the time scale, and it's all stop-start kind of animation. So, you know, you see me build something that's taken about 6 weeks, and you go through it in a few minutes, you know, but it does give you some idea.
Okay.
My actual website, it is a little bit clunky, but you can look at my work on Saatchi, because online at Saatchi, because he has, I'm showing some of the paintings there. That's just my little bit of advertising.
No, you're welcome to that and deserve it. And thank you so much. It's so great, so interesting to see somebody who's creative like yourself. And obviously you come from a talented family.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Joy, do you want to say anything to wind up?
I'm just gobsmacked. I'm so proud of my sister, as you know. And the pieces painted from the photographs of our family were just so incredibly moving for me. Yeah. I've only seen 1 or 2 of them before, so it was lovely. And Carole, please finish the one of our mother. I think that was amazing.
Okay. Joy, have you seen much of this work before that Carole's done?
I've seen some of it, yes. I've seen some of it. I haven't seen many of the later paintings. And
the ceramics.
Earlier I didn't see either, so
okay.
Yeah.
Carole, many thanks once again. It's been so interesting and lovely to see somebody who can create things like that. I'm sure you make it easy, but it's a lot of hard work and experience and training has gone into that. Just to remind everybody, next week have your mixing bowls ready, your pinafores ready, and all your ingredients. Don't forget to order them so you've got them well in advance, and look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday. Pinners at the ready. Have a good week. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye. Carole, this is Daphne. I just want to say thank you very, very much. It was absolutely fascinating. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was great. Thank you
very welcome.
Thank you. Bye all.
Bye.
Bye everybody.
Bye, Carole. Speak soon.
Okay.
You can carry on chatting. If any of you want to carry on chatting, please feel free to stay on.
Carole, can I just say that was absolutely wonderful. I've really enjoyed every minute. Your work's terrific. I had no idea, only what Joy had told me, but it's fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
That's marvellous detail on your ceramics.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got it so wonderful. Not to make a mistake. The colours.
I made many mistakes. I mean, there are so many pieces just not on that, you know.
The detail is marvellous. Never seen such detail.
Do you ever get to the point where you're so annoyed with something that hasn't worked that you just throw it down and get rid of it?
Yeah. Done that.
You know, I wanted Carole to come and talk to us. I've been wanting it for all the time I've been involved with on the committee, but obviously she lives quite a long way away, and it was just difficult to organise and for her to bring paintings and everything. So in a way, Zoom has enabled us to enjoy your work, Carole.
Yeah, there's an upside. There is an upside to Zoom.
Oh, there is, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. You know, while people aren't together, it is a wonderful way of connecting and giving everybody an opportunity to see all that lovely work.
Oh, that's
great.
Okay. Leslie, get your gear in for next week, and we look forward. You know, I hope you're going to send samples round to everybody eventually.
Oh, absolutely,
Tastes.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Enjoying your holiday, Carole.
Oh, thanks.
Where are you, Carole?
We're in Glastonbury.
Oh, okay.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, it's really lovely here.
Mm.
We've been on lots of walks and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to let you go now. So thank you once again. Take care.
All
Bye
right.
all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.